Okay, I'm not going to talk your ear off this week, but I am going to be a nerd again. And I have to talk about EA Sports and what they've done to Madden. Uh, so, first and foremost, for those of you unfamiliar with EA Sports, they are Electronic Arts. They're the developer of a number of major gaming titles such as Star Wars Battlefront, the war simulation game Battlefield, um, Madden, and a number of other sporting games, of hockey as well, EA Sports NHL series as well. And EA Sports has come under fire for the past, or just EA in general has come under fire the past couple years for its dealing with customers in terms of providing games that are really lacking of any real depth to them, and for characters wanting to progress in those games and wanting to feel growth and a sense of accomplishment in those games, they're having to actually shell out additional hard-earned dollars to acquire those in-game upgrades or aesthetic upgrades as well, or styles. And it's very disheartening because you look at a number of other gaming companies and they don't have this sort of pay-to-play mentality. I mean, obviously you have to buy the game, but once you put down that $59.99 on a AAA title game, you generally get the complete game. Now, are there additional things that come out for those games, like downloadable content after the fact? Yes, but you still have a complete game. And what's happened with a lot of titles from EA Sports is they'll give you part of the game, but they won't give you all the meat that you're looking for. And a good example of this and why I'm so impassioned is in the Madden franchise, the franchise of games. Ironically, within that franchise, there is a game mode called Franchise Mode. And in that franchise mode, you have control over an NFL team or the whole league if you want. You can switch around teams and everything like that. And in years past, specifically to Madden 12, which is now 9 years ago, and the Maddens preceding it, you had the ability to hire and fire coaches. You could choose sponsors for stadiums. And even in Madden 10 and 11, there was a halftime show where you would be playing your game, and then you would go to halftime, and then Chris Davis or Charles Davis and Aaron Andrews would come on the screen, and they would talk about the game, your game that you were playing. They would show the statistics, they would show some key highlights from it, and then they would show other scores and stats from around the league. And this is a game, mind you, that was 10, 11 years old now, and it had those features back then. And in today's versions, you don't have the options to do the hire, fire coaches to the same extent and accessibility that you had in 11 and 10 and some prior to that. What you have instead is really a diluted version of the franchise mode. And the only differences made within the game are in Ultimate Team and other online game modes in which EA Sports can profit off of players wanting to buy a card deck or wanting to improve a team, where then they have those electronic transactions of gaining further money from the player when they've already paid $59 for the game. So that would seem like an issue, correct? Well, EA doesn't seem to think so, because they've carried that same pay-to-play mentality and pay-to-win mentality, really, over to all of their titles. Battlefront 2 was released, but it had huge backlash because its entire multiplayer upgrading system was based through buying the upgrades. Now, of course, you can still buy the crates and stuff, but it's only for aesthetic changes. It's no longer for you are buying improved weapons and skills through spending your hard-earned money. It's no longer doing that because they've received a lot of backlash. And then Battlefield had similar issues. And all these games that EA is making have these similar issues. They're releasing a partially finished game or a basically copy and pasted game, and then they're expecting you to pay more money once you've already paid the $59. That's not including taxes, in order to win and have a fully good time while playing their game, which is absurd, especially when Madden is essentially an unfinished product each and every year, because they've removed a lot of those abilities from franchise mode. You're not able to have the same immersion when it comes to off-season tasks of hiring and firing coaches and sponsorship and talking to the media, or even having the halftime shows. And this is 10 years having passed, when 10 and 11 years prior, they had a halftime show in their games, which showed, real-time statistics from other teams within your league and from your team, highlights, and all these complex things were able to be done in those Madden games. And it felt like someone that really loved football and loved an immersive game and wanted something that could put them in the driver's seat and make them feel like they were really a general manager. They were really part of this football team. They were really making the decisions for the squad. And now it's definitely catered more towards a more, I guess, younger audience, and an audience that wants more of like a quick satisfaction, because you are no longer able to enjoy a fully immersive experience. Instead, it's like instant gratification is expected. You go into the game, you have this massive touchdown catch. And again, let me just say, game physics and the improvements to some aesthetic features are really good. However, all the core values and meat of the game have been sucked from it, and it just feels like you were given this skeleton, which, albeit is an awesome skeleton, it's a dinosaur fossilized skeleton. You're getting a T-Rex skeleton. It looks amazing, but what can you do with that skeleton? You're gonna ooh and ah over it, and maybe stand it up and everything, but after a while, that loses its value. And honestly, pretty quickly, it loses its ability to hold your attention, because it's just the same thing. It's just repetitive and redundant, and just like, what does it do? I find myself, whenever I upload the more recent Maddens, I have Madden 20, the most recent one, or the one prior to Madden 21, which is the current one. Whenever I load it up, I always sit there and I'm thinking back. Whenever I think of Madden, I'm thinking back on hiring and firing coaches, and sponsorship, and just an immersive experience where I'm basically the general manager. And then when I get to the game, the current ones, it's just like, do I even want to play it? I don't really have any of those abilities. I'm not really making the team. I'm just playing as them, but I don't get to make it. And where all these other games are coming up and really succeeding is in customizability. And the ability to make the game and the story into what you want it to be. A very popular title, Assassin's Creed, is shifting over into more of a role-playing game where players have a lot of options in what they can do with the story, and it's not just a linear tale. And that's really becoming the large prevalent thing in mainstream gaming, is people want choices. Beforehand, mainstream gaming was just, hey, arcade games and simple, instant gratification kinds of things. But now people, as the gaming genre becomes more and more of a shared experience among us all, and it is such a mainstream thing now, people are wanting more engagement. It's the same thing with movies. People are wanting something that's a little bit of everything now. It's no longer just comedy or drama or blah blah blah. It's a little bit of everything that people are looking for in movies, and it's the same thing in everything else. We have this assault on the senses that we have from a daily standpoint on our smartphones, our computers, our tablets, everything. So it's just, why not also have the stimulation we're able to receive, through gaming, also reflect that from a mainstream level? Because there's a lot of great gaming companies that provide you with those options and those abilities to choose. But EA Sports, being a massive developer and selling incredible amounts of copies of their games and making money hand over fist, they should be able to have a better understanding of gamers. But instead, it feels like the marketing team is in charge there, and they're saying, okay, what's making money right now? And ultimately, it's like Tim Cook. He was talking about before he came to Apple. He was at Compaq Computers, and at the time, Compaq had the best sales out of everybody. And there was just, and they were catering towards, what are people buying right now? But at Apple, what Steve Jobs pitched to Tim Cook was that they're making devices that they're passionate about. They're making things that they love, things that they themselves want to use, and not just from like a practical standpoint or from a monetary standpoint. It's because they wanted to use that product. They wanted to make that product. And Tim Cook said there's something special there. And now obviously he's a CEO, so it worked out for him in the end. But successful companies that stick around and remain popular are the ones that look to their consumers and look within themselves and say, what would I want from a game? Beyond the numbers, beyond, what's selling, what's not, what does the fan base want from a game? And, obviously maybe they're buying what I'm putting out right now, but they're reflecting through social media and through word of mouth that, hey, I don't like this game, I don't like what you've done with it. I don't like the series. I don't like the means in which you're selling the game and its components and so on and so forth. But EA is ignoring all of those things. EA recently, in the past month and a half, they said, "Look, we hear you loud and clear. We're gonna fix things. We're gonna put a Band-Aid on it, make it all better." No. They're just, right now, they're just trying to recover their image a little bit. They're going to say they're going to make some changes and some updates, but really, I don't see EA doing anything except for just copy and pasting rosters and the same graphics they've been using. Because, I mean, they're changing the physics just a little bit year in and year out, but again, the features in franchise mode, it's boring. It's not fun. It's not something you can sit down and play for a while. The old Maddens, I'll still hook my PS3 up and I'll play the old Madden games, and I can get a lot of fun out of the managerial roles that I have on there instead of, going to the current gen Maddens and being like, I'm playing arcade games essentially. There's no gratification and accomplishment on the current Maddens. And in the previous ones, you put together your teams, you put together your rosters, you put together sponsorships and coaching staffs and everything, and you made it your own. And then you won, and it felt like something more. It felt like you were, not accomplishing something that would cure cancer or something, but it was an accomplishment nonetheless. It was a fun means of spending your free time, and that doesn't exist anymore. You look at other gaming series, and even within EA's own house. EA's UFC games, I didn't like UFC fighting or anything like that for the longest time, but the video games having the expansive options in career mode, I was like, okay, I can get behind this because I like a story I can build off of, as do most other gamers. And when you don't provide that in your most lucrative titles, what do you expect to happen? Thank you.